There is a question moving quietly through Washington. Nobody wants to say it too loudly, because the moment you say it, the whole room gets uncomfortable. Is Taiwan becoming a bargaining chip? Not officially, not openly, not in a signed agreement, but in the dangerous space between trade, tariffs, chips, military sales, and presidential pressure, one fear is growing: that Taiwan could be treated less like a democracy of people and more like a card on the table. A card to be played, a card to be delayed, a card to be traded for something else. This is the fear behind the phrase Taiwan Handover. But we need to be clear: there is no confirmed public deal handing Taiwan to China. There is no official treaty giving Taiwan away. There is no verified secret agreement proving America has abandoned Taiwan. But there is something real. There is pressure. There is uncertainty. There is a trade war. There are rare earth minerals. There are chips. There are weapons packages.
There are markets. There is China's military pressure. There is America's political pressure. And there is a self-governing island of more than 23 million people watching every word. Because sometimes history does not begin with a declaration. Sometimes it begins with a pause, a delayed arms package, a softer sentence, a private calculation, a leader asking, "What do we get in return?" And suddenly, the world starts wondering if a security commitment is becoming a negotiation. That is the real story, not a confirmed handover. A fear that Taiwan could be reduced to leverage, a fear that trade could swallow security, a fear that the world's most dangerous flashpoint could be moved by a deal made somewhere else. The problem is that Taiwan sits at the center of several storms at once. It is not only a security issue. It is not only a democracy issue. It is not only a China issue. It is a trade issue, a technology issue, a military issue, a supply chain issue, a domestic political issue, and a global economy issue. Taiwan produces some of the most advanced semiconductors on Earth. Those chips power phones, cars, data centers, artificial intelligence, weapons systems, medical devices, factories, and the invisible machinery of modern life. So when Taiwan becomes unstable, the world does not just worry about war. The world worries about supply chains, factories, inflation, markets, and the future of technology itself. China sees Taiwan as part of its national destiny. The United States does not recognize Taiwan as an independent country, but it also maintains deep unofficial ties with Taiwan. It sells Taiwan weapons. It supports Taiwan's self-defense. It warns against force or coercion. And for decades, Washington has lived inside a careful balance. That balance is called ambiguity. America does not clearly say exactly what it would do if China attacked Taiwan, but it also does not allow Beijing to assume Taiwan can be taken without cost. That ambiguity was designed to prevent war, but now ambiguity has become more dangerous, because in a transactional political age, uncertainty can look like flexibility, and flexibility can look like a deal. This is where the fear begins. If Taiwan is treated as a bargaining chip, Beijing may test the limits. Taipei may feel abandoned. American allies may lose confidence. Markets may panic. And families in Taiwan may wake up wondering if their future was discussed without them in the room. To understand why this fear is spreading, you have to understand the trade battlefield. The United States and China are not just arguing about goods. They are arguing about the future shape of power. Tariffs are one weapon. Technology restrictions are another. Rare earth minerals are another. Semiconductors are another. Military sales are another. And Taiwan is the issue that connects all of them. Washington wants leverage over China. Beijing wants leverage over Washington. Both sides know the other side has weaknesses. America wants China to buy more goods. China wants America to reduce pressure. America wants supply chains outside China. China wants technology access. America wants Taiwan protected. China wants Taiwan isolated. That means every issue becomes connected. A tariff discussion can touch a military sale. A chip restriction can affect a Taiwan statement. A rare earth export rule can shake a U.S. factory. An arms package can become part of a diplomatic argument. And that is why the phrase Taiwan Handover is so powerful. It captures a fear that the official language hides, the fear that Taiwan's security could be quietly pulled into a much larger bargain, not as a formal surrender, but as a slow weakening, a delay here, a softer statement there, a reduced arms package, a postponed visit, a careful silence, a decision not to provoke Beijing before a trade deal. This is how great power pressure often works, not through one dramatic betrayal, but through a series of small adjustments that add up to a new reality. For Beijing, this is strategic. China does not need America to announce a handover. It only needs America to become more hesitant, more divided, more transactional, more willing to delay, more willing to ask whether Taiwan is worth the cost. For Taiwan, that is frightening, because deterrence depends on belief. Beijing must believe the cost of force would be too high. Taiwan must believe it is not alone. America's allies must believe Washington's word still matters. Markets must believe war is not inevitable. If those beliefs weaken, the danger grows. Behind the policy language are people, a young woman in Taipei riding the train to work, a father checking the news before taking his child to school, a shop owner wondering if tourists will stop coming, a soldier looking across the water, a family hearing aircraft overhead and trying not to panic, a grandmother remembering older wars, a student wondering if the future will be decided by leaders he never voted for. This is the human side of Taiwan. It is easy to talk about Taiwan like a chess piece, a semiconductor hub, a strategic island, a flashpoint, a red line, a bargaining chip. But Taiwan is not just a map, it is people. It is apartment lights at night, it is crowded food markets, it is children walking home from school, it is workers building the chips that power the modern world, it is families who want normal lives. And the fear of being traded away is not abstract, it is emotional. It is the fear that powerful countries could discuss your future without asking you. It is the fear that your home becomes part of someone else's negotiation. It is the fear that peace depends on whether distant leaders calculate correctly. This fear also reaches America. A factory worker in Ohio may not think about Taiwan every day, but if semiconductor supply chains break, his factory may feel it. A parent in California may not follow China policy, but if markets crash, her savings may feel it. A farmer in Iowa may not care about military ambiguity, but if China retaliates on trade, his crops may sit unsold. A truck driver may not study the Taiwan Strait, but if oil and shipping costs rise, his fuel bill changes. A young U.S. sailor may not make foreign policy, but if deterrence fails, he may be sent into danger. That is what makes this story so serious. Taiwan is far away on the map, but close to everything Americans use: phones, cars, markets, military technology, jobs, prices, and the future of U.S. power. The global economy twist is that Taiwan is not only a security question, it is an economic pressure point. If Taiwan becomes unstable, the world's technology nervous system shakes. Semiconductors are not just another product. They are the foundation of the modern economy. Without advanced chips, factories slow, cars wait, phones delay. Defense systems become harder to build. AI systems become more expensive. Data centers become more fragile. Companies delay hiring. Investors pull back. And consumers eventually feel it in prices. That is why a careless Taiwan signal can become an economic shock. Markets do not wait for war. Markets react to risk. Shipping companies react to risk. Insurance companies react to risk. Factories react to risk. Governments react to risk. And ordinary people pay for risk long before they understand it. This is where trade and security become one story. A U.S.-China trade deal may look peaceful on television. But if that deal creates fear in Taiwan, it may make the world more unstable. A tariff reduction may calm markets for 1 week. But if investors believe Taiwan's security is weaker, the long-term risk grows. A delayed arms sale may help a negotiation. But if Beijing reads that delay as weakness, the danger grows. This is the trap. The cheapest deal today can become the most expensive crisis tomorrow, and the world has seen this pattern before. Big powers often tell themselves they are buying time, they are reducing tension, they are making a practical compromise. But sometimes the other side sees compromise as permission. Sometimes restraint is read as retreat, sometimes silence is read as consent, and sometimes a deal made to avoid conflict gives conflict more space to grow. That is why Taiwan cannot be treated like a normal bargaining chip. A soybean purchase can be renegotiated, a tariff rate can be changed, a chip license can be reviewed. But once deterrence breaks, it is very hard to rebuild. There are three possible futures. The first future is reassurance. Washington makes clear that Taiwan is not for sale. Trade talks continue, tariffs are negotiated, technology issues are discussed. But Taiwan's security is kept separate from the deal-making. America says it opposes force. China hears that ambiguity has limits. Taiwan feels more secure. Allies feel reassured. Markets calm down. This is the safest path. It does not solve everything, but it reduces the risk of a dangerous misunderstanding. The second future is drift. There is no official handover, no dramatic announcement, no shocking treaty. But small things begin to change. A weapons package slows down. A statement becomes softer. A meeting is delayed. A visit is canceled. A phrase is removed. A leader avoids clear language. Each move can be explained. Each move can be called tactical. Each move can be defended as diplomacy. But together they create doubt. Taiwan begins to wonder. Allies begin to wonder. Beijing begins to test. This is the most dangerous kind of shift because it can happen without anyone admitting it. The third future is crisis. Beijing believes Washington is distracted. Taiwan believes America is uncertain. Markets believe war risk is rising. A military exercise grows larger. A naval encounter becomes tense. A cyber attack hits infrastructure. A blockade threat appears. A missile test sends a message. And suddenly, the world is not debating trade anymore. It is debating whether the most important technology island on Earth is about to become the center of a great power confrontation. In that future, there is no cheap option. If America responds, the risk of war rises. If America does not respond, the credibility of U.S. alliances falls. If Taiwan is left alone, the global balance changes. If China is challenged directly, the world economy shakes. That is why this moment matters. Not because a handover has been proven, it has not, but because the fear of one can change behavior. And in geopolitics, fear can become a force. So what is nobody telling you? Nobody is telling you that Taiwan does not need to be formally handed over to be weakened. It can be weakened by doubt, by delay, by ambiguity, by transactional language, by treating security as a price, by making allies wonder whether America's commitments are permanent or negotiable. That is the real danger. Not one secret document, not one dramatic betrayal, not one hidden agreement. The danger is a slow psychological handover, a handover of confidence, a handover of deterrence, a handover of belief. Because once Beijing believes Washington will bargain over Taiwan, the crisis changes. Once Taiwan believes it may be alone, the crisis changes. Once allies believe America can be pressured into silence, the world changes. The question is not whether Taiwan has already been handed over. The question is whether the idea of trading Taiwan has entered the room. And if that idea enters the room, even quietly, even unofficially, even for one moment, the world becomes more dangerous. Because Taiwan is not just a bargaining chip. It is a democracy. It is a technology lifeline. It is a warning light for the entire global order. And if that warning light starts flashing, the whole world will feel it.